This is Prairie Grove Battlefield Park, located in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, complete with a museum and a vast array of buildings reminiscent of an era long past. This park brings to life the reminder of a devastating battle fought in the fall of 1862 right here on its soil. A place now calm and serene, we are still reminded of a war that touched us all, as a dedicated group of men and women gather annually to history to life.
The Battle of Prairie Grove is very significant in this part of the country. This was fought after the battles of Pea Ridge, of course, and Wilson's Creek. The important thing about the Battle of Prairie Grove was that this battle in itself sealed Arkansas and southern Missouri for the rest of the war for the Union forces. Now, historically, the battle is known as a standoff, which it technically was. It was a situation with the retreat of the Confederates at night. Many of the stories go where they had to shield the cannon wheels and the supply wagons and the limbers and the wagons with the wounded with the coats of the men in a sleeting, driving rain to where they could remove themselves noiselessly in the retreat south. They pulled away from the battlefield. The Union woke up the next morning with a deserted field, the field being theirs, although the initial fight itself was a standoff. So Prairie Grove is very important. It is the site of my beginning of reenacting. Back when they filmed The Blue and the Gray here on this present site was when I actually started.
I'm the Confederate Cavalry Commander here for the troops at Prairie Grove reenactment. This weekend we have 46 horses in the Confederate Cavalry, and it's divided up into 4 companies. Shelby's 5th Missouri, which was a unit that actually fought here, the 1st Arkansas Cavalry that fought here, the 8th Arkansas, and the 2nd Missouri Cavalries. They're all reenactments of units that participated in this area during the Civil War. Myself, I've been doing Civil War reenacting for the past 11 years. My home company is Shelby's 5th Missouri Cavalry, which has a total of 35 riders spread throughout Missouri, Kansas, and Iowa. We're all reenactment units that are totally self-supporting. We do the research. Our uniforms are made off official patterns from a lot of the museums. Our weapons are reproductions of what was carried in this area. The men own their own equipment and horses. We do our own transportation. Each man provides his own gear. We're not underwritten by anyone.
I've been doing this since about 1980. I started out doing infantry, and I began my own cavalry unit roughly 6 years ago. The drive of this is a love for history, wanting to know what it was like for the soldiers. I can speak with authority when it comes to the American cavalrymen during the Civil War. I participated in some of the great reenactments of the raid, such as Grierson's raid, which went from LaGrange, Tennessee to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We were in the field for 3 days solid riding, which we accomplished 103 miles from daylight to sunset. We camped off the horse authentically. We carried every bit of the gear that was carried on the raid, 100% wool uniforms like I have on now. We carried all of our food stuffs with us on the saddle. Went through the same pains, the heartaches, the cold driving rain, sleeping out of doors. We experienced the same thing that the troopers did during that time period, so it gives me a sense of closeness with some of my ancestors and with the men that fought so gallantly on both sides during the war.
We try for the weekend to portray what is common for the Civil War soldier. So when people see us, they see what was actually there. Our uniforms are wool. We wear them summer and winter. We wear the proper accoutrements, weapons. We live in the tonnage of the period, the canvas tents, blanket rolls. We have our own cook fires, our own people are detailed out to do the official duties that a cavalry company needed to, you know, be on the march or something. People come around, we have sutlers that make the equipment and sell it to us. We have our own quartermaster set up that procure our rations and divide it among the units. We come out here to teach the public and let them be able to pick up a gun and see what it's like or feel a uniform instead of trying to get it all out of a dry history book.
And it's a far-flung hobby, although we're limited much of the time during the summer to traveling no further than Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Louisiana. It's an expensive hobby to get into, but one that I have well enjoyed. My wife and family are involved in it. My little boys have uniforms and sabers, and they know the saber drill to work with in the field, and we put on shows. We do probably between 8 to 10 schools a year, volunteer work. We do a lot of civic clubs and activities. We volunteer a lot of time on state and national parks. These men were so patriotic that either Southern or Northern procurement system could not supply them uniforms and weaponry sufficient to outfit them. So many times the men would buy equipments or extra equipment out of their own purse and pocket so that they could be uniformed for war, so they could participate in the cause that they so righteously believed in. And one man in Virginia by the name of Hampton formed and raised Hampton's Black Horse Legion for the Confederacy, buying horses, men, equipment, saddles out of his own pocketbook because he believed so strongly in the state's rights and the succession of his mother state of Virginia. It was just unbelievable, the patriotism and the love of state and country that many of these people had. During the reenactment, we use a lot of the weaponry, we train, we study, we apply the tactics that were used during the war. This is obtained through reprints of the original training manuals, original diaries. You'll notice the cavalry action, you'll notice the way that the artillery is placed and used, you'll notice the way that the infantry move up, their columns, the way that they march. This is studied out carefully. The movements that we do are dress parade correct, but we do them as closely as we can in the confusion and smoke of battle. Try and move in military precision. The drill is strenuous. Many times we get together during the year on a free weekend and get the group together and train and drill exactly like the Civil War soldiers did. There was a purpose for every movement. There was a meaning of every call that is given by the officers and the men in the line. As you watch this, you think that it may be silly, these men standing shoulder to shoulder, rank to rank, and they wonder why they didn't lay down in the hole or why they didn't run off or get behind a tree. It is the mentality of the men of the time. It is the man not wanting to let down his squad or his unit, not wanting to be shown a coward. True, they were fighting with tactics that were outdated because the advent of the rifle and musket versus the smooth bore musket. They were facing a weapon that was a man killer at 500 yards versus the old smooth bore muskets that were used in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, which maximum ranges were from 150 to 200 yards. And thusly, that is one of the reasons why there was the great loss of life during the Civil War. Show them what a musket is that the Civil War soldiers used. You talk about the range and the killing power. You're dressed up in a uniform. You smell like wood smoke. You're able to show them everything that the soldier carried, explain what life was like and about for them. They will catch on to it. It's as much more informative and interesting than trying to give them a lecture out of a book or looking at a few pictures. You see the license plates. The South will rise again. You see the little Confederate guy with the flag and saber over his shoulder, you know, hell no, I'm not going to forget, and damn Yankee, so on and so forth. I would like to speak about the animosity of the troops. These men went to fight for a cause. They weren't fighting individuals one against the other. There was not the bayoneting and the killing of the wounded that you see portrayed by the crazy guy in North-South, in the blue and the gray. If that was done, it was a very isolated situation. There is a term that is used in Civil War that was even printed on many of the reunion badges after the war of the 10th, 20th, 50th reunion of the veterans. And it was simply this, and banners would be put over the reunion barricades saying that they drank from the same canteen. If there were wounded men on either side, laying next to one another, they weren't sitting there screaming, damn Yankee, or, you know, you secessionist scum. They would share a canteen, one wounded man to another. In the crude field hospitals that most people considered no better than human butcher shops, one side was cared for equal as the other.
Okay, we're always looking for people to join this reenacting hobby, and mainly we get a lot of people that come to events and see it and decide they'd like to participate. They can talk to anybody here in uniform and they'll help them. They'll usually try to see if they want to be a Union or Confederate, and then they'll send them to the correct side, and then what branch of service, infantry, artillery, cavalry. And then once we can break it down what they're really wanting to do, then they talk to like somebody in the company or the company commanders, and we contact them afterwards. We have lists to what they need to do, you know, where they can buy their uniforms and equipment. So we bring people along slowly. People just don't run out and buy everything. It's a slow accumulation because it takes time to build up completely a complete outfit of weapons, uniforms, in our case, horses, tack, you know,